Now that we've finished working on the adverbs, we're ready to start working on adpositions. And we use the adposition, the term adposition, because the target language may use prepositions or postpositions. So to be neutral on that issue, we use the term adpositions. And before we import a table, I'd like to look at one thing: the source relations and target adpositions. Here are all these are prepositions in English. These are all the prepositions we use in our source text. For example, these are the typical prepositions. We have about 11 different senses of the word in. For example, located inside something literally, like a basket or a house. Located within the boundaries of an area, like in the city. Generic location, in a group, John is in the army, or in the morning, etc. So these are typical in English prepositions. But up at the top we have a special category. Numbers 1 through 18. And you can see they're in a different font. These are markers of different types. Most of these mark specific noun-noun relationships. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video, is the noun-noun relationships. So let's look at some of these. Okay, this first one, these first two, these mark the beginning of an episode in a scene. We'll talk about those in a subsequent video. This is the first noun-noun relationship marker, body part. And this is used whenever there's a noun like hand, and it's modified by another noun, in this case Mary. So Mary's hand. So hand is the head noun, Mary is the modifying noun, and in our source text, that relationship will be marked with this marker, body part. I'll show it to you in a minute. Composed of. One thing is composed of something, like lake of fire, streets of gold, river of blood, pillar of fire, etc. Okay, let's come back to generic genitive. Group marks a group of something, like herd of sheep, flock of geese, crowd of people. So here, people is the head noun, crowd is the modifying noun, and the relationship between these two nouns will be marked with this marker here, group. Okay, iteration doesn't mark noun-noun relationships, so we'll skip it. Kinship marks blood relationship, like Mary's brother, Mary's mother, and legal relationships, John's wife, Mary's mother-in-law. Made of, one thing is made of another thing, like house of bricks. So house is the head noun, and it's modified by bricks, and the relationship between those two nouns will be marked with made of. We would probably say a brick house or a wooden table. Name marks someone's name, a man named David. So here man is the head noun, David is the modifying noun, and the relationship between these two nouns will be marked with name. Nationality, example, a Hebrew man. Owner marks a possessor, John's book. So book is the head noun, John is a modifying noun. Part whole, the front of the boat, the top of the mountain, the surface of the water, etc. Quantity marks quantity, like a loaf of bread. So bread is the head noun, loaf is a modifying noun, and that noun-noun relationship will be marked with this adposition, quantity. Or 1 liter of water. So water is the head noun, and liter is the modifying noun. Liter will be modified by the adjective 1. So 1 liter, and then the quantity marker, water. Realm of authority marks the people group that someone governs, like the king of the Israelites. Region of authority marks the region that someone governs, like king of Israel. So this is a country. Governor of Tiberias. This is a place, not a people, as up here. Subgroup, we've talked about this. Okay, this doesn't mark noun-noun relationships. This is between an adjective and a noun, like Mary read 2 of those books. John read many of those books. So this one doesn't mark noun-noun. But this last one is another noun-noun marker. Marks someone's title, like King Xerxes. So Xerxes is the head noun. It's modified by this noun, and the relationship between those two nouns is title. So whenever one noun modifies another noun, there will always be a relationship between those two nouns. Now if it's a specific relationship, like title, realm of authority, owner, or made of, or kinship, then we will mark it with one of these specific markers. But for many noun-noun relationships, we can't easily categorize the relationship. For example, John's friends. Okay, he doesn't own them. It's not a name, it's not a group. John's friends. We can't categorize that relationship. So that's when we use generic genitive. Then it will be up to you to see that friends is modified by John and this generic genitive marker is in there. And you will write a rule that will provide the right morphology or the right structure. So all of the noun-noun relationships that don't fit into one of these specific noun-noun relationships, all of the others will be marked with generic genitive. So let's go over here. Let's go to our first adposition sentence. Okay. John saw Mary's book. So book is the head noun. There's an embedded noun phrase with Mary, and then the relationship between these two nouns is marked with owner. And before we start working on this, let's go to our document, and we'll import table number 13, noun-noun relationships. And I'd like to make a comment here. Okay, so here are all of the specific noun-noun relationships that we just talked about. Body part, composed of, group, kinship, made of, etc. Generic genitive isn't here. This is for the specific noun-noun relationships. And we do several things here. We provide a target word or a target affix, like here apostrophe s. So we provide a target word. We also mark, okay, the embedded noun phrase precedes the head noun. Okay, so Mary's hand. The head noun is hand. The embedded noun phrase, in this case Mary's hand, it precedes the head noun, so we put an X here. If it follows the head noun, river of blood, the embedded NP follows the head noun, we put an X here. Adposition is at the beginning of the NP. Here, river of blood. So this adposition is at the beginning of the NP. Mary's hand, okay, we're treating this as if it were an adposition. In a moment we'll talk about this. But suppose this were an adposition, this apostrophe s, then it would come at the end of the NP. Here, herd of sheep. Okay, this of comes at the end of the noun phrase. So we put an X in here. And then we provide names for the noun-noun relationship. Okay? So let's import this table. Oh, before we do this, I want to say something. Earlier, in a previous video, I said we're going to approach this project, this English project, as if it were a low-resource language that we know virtually nothing about. We're going to break that rule just for this video. If we were really doing that, then when we look at this, Mary's hand, our first inclination would be to say apostrophe s as a suffix. And we could do that, like here, apostrophe s, and we preface it with a dash, so then this would be treated as a suffix. But this is actually a clitic. So for these videos, since we know this is a clitic, I'm going to change this. If we went ahead like this, then later we'd have to come back and fix it. And to avoid that, I'm going to fix it now. Okay? So I'm going to change this to a space. If you don't want this relationship linked to any target word, then if you put an asterisk here, then it will just be linked to a blank space. So I'm going to change all of these apostrophe s's to an asterisk. Okay, that's all. So now let's save this, and let's go import it. And that's table number 13, specific noun-noun relationships. And it asks us before each one, okay, it's going through this list over here. We've defined noun-noun relationships. For example, Saxon genitive. Okay, if you're working in a low-resource language, you won't have names like Saxon genitive or Norman genitive. You'll probably just have genitive. In fact, English is complicated in this respect. We have different types of genitives. The other languages I've worked in, they just have one type of genitive, and typically they go either before or after the head noun. So you won't have names like Saxon genitive or Norman genitive. But whatever labels you put in here, TBTA will ask you if you want to add them to a feature. So we're going to say yes. Do you want to add the value post-nominal genitive to the noun phrase feature name thing relationship? We'll say yes. Do you want to add the value pre-nominal genitive? We'll say yes. Norman genitive, yes. Okay, all of the selected tables were imported from the Word document. Okay, by importing that table, we actually just did a lot of a lot of things, 8 things. And I'll stop this video here, and the next video will talk about the 8 different things that were just done for us automatically when we imported that table.